tens, and a wild. These are all legitimate MELDs. So to clarify again, what's not a MELD is if you look at this first one, you have only one king, a joker, and a two. So that is not a MELD. In the next case, you actually have 3 wild cards and 3 sixes. You'll learn the first rule. You cannot have more than 2 wilds in a canasta or in a MELD. So that is not allowed. And the next one is only 2 cards. The next 2 are only 2 cards. So you need 3 or more. So if you have cards handy, just kind of make up different MELDs in front of you just to see that you understand that. The only person I see is Mary. But anyway.
Do you want to try and change your gallery view, or you don't want to?
Maybe I'll try to do that if I stop the sharing. Oh yeah, okay. So I just stopped sharing for now.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, Mary.
I'm actually
Good to see you.
So
Good to see one person. I saw Mary.
I had a question.
Okay.
You said that the jokers and the twos are jokers.
Yes.
Wild cards.
Yeah.
So, and you said you could only do 2 in a MELD.
Right.
Does it mean only 2 twos? Can I do 2 twos and 1 joker?
You could, no, it has to be 2 total. The whole wild category, 1 joker, 1 2.
Okay.
2 jokers.
2 jokers or 2 twos. Got it. Okay, thanks.
you know, Sharon also had a question. Sharon?
Yeah. Well, I just was confused because we've had 4 or 5 classes and now we're starting at the beginning. Is this the way it's going to be?
No, I had told you earlier, this is just an intro. You know all this stuff, Sharon. I mean, this is stuff that we went over early.
Right. Do you think that I should just come next week then?
We don't have anything else set up at this point.
Oh, so there's not going to actually be games to play?
Not in this forum. You can't really do it with 44 people.
All right. I'll get in touch with you later. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, so does everybody, are they creating MELDs? Are you guys creating some MELDs? If you want to hold up something, let's see. Perfect, Arlene.
I don't have a deck of cards.
I was trying to raise my hand. I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said there can only be 2 wild cards. Is that correct?
In a MELD.
Either twos or jokers, right? Only 2?
Yeah. Yes.
But a MELD is 7.
No,
right?
a MELD is 3 or more. Canasta.
I'm sorry, I meant a canasta is 7.
So in a
But
canasta, you can only have 2 wilds.
But you're playing with 1 deck, is that correct?
2 decks.
Oh, okay, because I'm thinking here, I've got all 4 aces, and I only have my 2 wild cards. That equals 6, but we're playing with 2 decks at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a good point. I'm not sure your name. What is your name?
I'm Ellen.
Hi, Ellen. When every card, there's going to be 8 of them because you have 2 different decks. So 8 twos, 8 eights, except for the jokers, there's only 4. When you think of a deck, there's, 8 of everything but 2 jokers.
And of course, to be a natural, you have to have all 7 of one kind. So there has to be 2 decks. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So
there's somebody else who has a question. Do you want to take more questions?
Sure. One more.
Arlene Mukamal had a question. I saw her hand
She's
up.
muted. No, Jerry, she's muted. Arlene is muted.
Okay, I have to find her.
She needs to unmute herself. Let me see if I can unmute her. I don't think I can. You need to unmute her.
All right, I have to find her. Oh, there she is. Okay, I got it. You're unmuted, Arlene.
I'm unmuted?
Yes. And then Tammy, you can go, okay? And that's it for now. Then we'll save the rest for later. So go ahead, Arlene.
A canaster is 7 cards.
Yes.
How many wild cards can be in a canaster?
2.
2, so I have to have 5 cards plus any 2 wild cards.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And then in
Okay.
your
Thank you.
graphic, what was not a MELD, the first one, you had the king and the 2, basically the 2 jokers or the 2
Right.
wild cards.
You need a
That
pair.
is not, you have to have a pair.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Good. Okay. So let's go back to sharing the screen. Okay, so I think everybody's good on the MELDs, and we'll continue. So the MELDs are either clean or natural is another term for it. So when you look at these three examples, there's no wilds here. They're clean or natural. You can't use a wild card in order to make the definition of a clean or a natural. And this just shows the nines that when you are close to a canasta, which is the 7 cards, you turn the bottom card to signify to yourself and to everybody at the table that you're only one away from a canasta. So these are clean MELDs. These are dirty MELDs or black. So here you have the wilds. These are all good MELDs. You either have 1 or 2 wilds. Okay, so the canasta we've touched on is 7 cards of a MELD of 7 cards. So here are clean canastas, another term, natural, clean, or red. So 7 jacks, 7 nines. When you're playing the game, what you do is once you get your 7th card, you roll up the canasta, you place a red card on top, which signifies that it's clean, and you put it with your 3s. And we'll talk about the 3s in a little bit. So these are 2 clean or red canastas. And the reason you put the red card on top is that when you finish the round, you are going to be doing some scoring. And this just helps you score. So a clean canasta is worth more than a dirty canasta. So it just is an easy way to figure out your score. This is a dirty or black canasta. So the same thing, you have 7 nines, 7 jacks with wild cards. You roll them up, but this time you put a black card on top, and that signifies that it's a dirty or dirty canasta. And these are worth 300 points, whereas the clean ones are worth 500 points. Okay, I'm gonna just talk really briefly about special cards because it's more detailed part of the game. But just to know that 3s are special, 7s, aces, and wilds. We already know how special the wilds are, and the joker is probably the best card in the whole game because it's worth 50 points, and it's easier to make your MELDs when you have more points. 3s are something that you have in your hand, but you never keep it in your hand. When you are dealt a 3, when it's your turn, you place your 3 on the table, take another card to replace it, and then you take your turn. And it's merely, there's no skill involved with 3s. It's just part of the game, but it could make or break you because you could either it gives you a swing of a lot of points one way, or it could be negative points. So this is just non-skilled, but part of the game. 7s and aces, suffice to say, the 7s are probably the hardest part of the game that people have to understand. But suffice to say that you could only have clean 7s. You can never have a wild card with a canasta of 7s. With aces, most of the time you can have wild cards if it's in your very first MELD. After the very first MELD, you must have clean aces. So not to worry if that doesn't make sense, just to know that they are special cards. Okay, the game, you're sitting across from your partner, there's 4 people. You basically are drawing a card, placing it in your hand, discarding. That's one option. The second option, you could be picking up a pack. Like when you play rummy, if somebody throws a 4 and you have a need for that, you can take the 4. In canasta, you can't just take the top card, you have to take the whole discard pile. And that's probably the most fun part of the game, is picking up a pack, because your pack is going to be filled with lots of cards, lots of MELDs, lots of canastas perhaps. So that's another thing. The third option is you're drawing a card and then you're melding on the table and then you discard. So basically you pick, you discard, you pick, you discard. And you have many rounds that happen during one game. One game is 8,500 points. Once your team makes 8,500 points, you are declared the winner. But it takes a few rounds before that happens. So a round, not a game, a round is over when the stockpile is all done. There's no more cards to pick. Or the team makes their requirement. They satisfy the condition and they get what you need is 2 canastas at least. And you need to get rid of your cards. So 2 things, you need to have 2 canastas, doesn't matter if it's clean or dirty, discard, and then you're out, and you get more points for going out. Okay. As far as card values, the natural, these are the natural cards, ace through 4. It's just the wilds, the 2s and the jokers, and 3s are different. But as far as point values, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are only worth 5 points. 8 through king is 10 points. Aces are really good to have in your hand because they're worth 20 points. 2s as a wild is 20, and the jokers is 50 points. And we talked about the 3s. It's only at the end of the round you use the 3s to calculate your score. Okay, so the object of the game is to make MELDS, which are the building blocks to make canastas, and you play many rounds, and the first partnership to make 8,500 wins. All right, so with Rummy Q, I'm sure if you have familiarity with that game, you need to have a certain number of points before you could do your initial meld. Same with Canasta. Everybody starts out and you need 125 points. When you get more, when you accumulate more points, when you get up to the 3,000 point level, gets harder. You need 155 points for your initial meld. And then when you get up to 5,000, you need 180 points, which is very hard to do. And you need jokers, you need aces. It's a hard thing to do. So talking about this initial meld, you need the correct point value in your hand. And that's one criteria. The second criteria is you need to have 1 clean meld. And you need a discard. So here is an initial meld. So if you had everybody gets dealt 13 cards, and you pick a card, then that's your 14th card when it's your turn. Here we see there's 1, 2, 3, there's 9 cards. You don't count every card in your hand. What you count is the meldable cards. So these are all legitimate melds because they're 3 or more. And when you count them up, it's 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 30. So you are meeting the 125 point criteria. You have your clean. Check that off. The third thing is you have a discard. And of course you're going to have a discard because you had 14 cards in your hand and you're only using 9. So that's the criteria for a meld. So this meld works for you and your partner. If you're the melder, and I'm playing with Mimi because that's who I see right now, Mimi across the way, I put down my meld. She would add, when it's her turn, she would add to my meld. Okay. It gets harder when you accumulate more, when you gather more points as you're playing the different rounds. And when you need 155 points, in this meld, you have 4, 8, 9, 10, you have 11 cards. So you still have the requirement because this is 160 points. The queens are your clean and you still have a discard. The last one is 180 points and you really, need to have jokers and aces. It's it's really almost impossible to meld if you don't have that for 180. So if you guys, with the ones that have cards in front of them, if you wanted to, we'll go back to the 125. If you want to make up an initial meld, you can try and do that. And if there's a question at this point, while the ones that have cards, I'll stop sharing for a second. If there's any, I think we're good.
Can we see the points again while we're doing
Sure.
this?
Okay.
Thank you.
If anyone has a question, it's good to go into chat. And that way I can write down the questions, and when we're done, everybody gets a turn.
I see Melinda Kopf has a question. Do you want to take questions now?
As people are doing the initial meld, that maybe, but I can't. Sure, I could.
Okay,
answer.
Melinda Kopf says, what are the threes at the top?
So the threes, when they're in, threes are special cards. When they're in your hand, when it's your turn, you're just going to get rid of it and put it in front of you and replace it. There's no skill involved in picking a three. At the end of the round, they are used to calculate your score. If you have more of it, you divide them into the red threes and the black threes. And if you have a lot of threes and you have two canastas, you get more points. It's just for points or scoring. Okay. So does anyone have any questions about the MELDs? Were you able to kind of do a MELD of 125 points? Oh, Arlene's got something up there. She's got, did it work, Arlene?
I'm unmuting
Just
Marlene.
unmute her. Thank you.
I did.
But I can't really see them all, but you have, okay, so you have
So
20, 40, 60, I mean 10, 20, 30, 40. You have your clean fours, good. And then what else do you have? That's a joker, that's awesome. I can't see the others. It looks like you know how to do it because you had your
tell
clean.
Mary to
right
hold on.
point,
Hold
so-
on. All right.
Okay.
It looks like Mary Siegel is holding up
Yes,
something.
she is.
Okay.
So let's get her on.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm okay,
Alice?
gotcha.
I grabbed 14 cards and I tried to do whatever I could. This was the most I could come up with. I had 3 5s and 2 jacks and a 2.
Okay, so you are on your way. You have a clean, you have your 3 5s.
Yep.
20, 30, 40, 55 points of meld cards right now. So you would continue playing and you picking and putting in your hand, but right now that's not an initial meld.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're on the way. Sometimes you could have all the
I had
points,
3.
180 points.
Yeah.
But you don't have a clean. So it really, you need all the requirements.
So whoever gets there first wins.
Whoever gets to the initial meld, not necessarily, you can go down and your partner contributes to your meld, but the other team could also do their initial meld and it continues from there.
So it's a team thing.
It is, that's why it's fun.
All right.
Okay, so
Just looking to see if anybody else wants to, okay. Go ahead.
let's just see if there's anything else. When you are the first team to meld, you get rewarded. You get 4 free cards. The second melding team only gets 3 free cards, and that's called a talon. Or in Minneapolis, we called it a boodle. I like that term better. These are just, as I said, if the only way you can pick up the big pack or a little pack, whatever it is if you have a pair in your hand that matches with the card. So if there's an 8, that's you go clockwise. So if the person to your right is throwing you an 8 and you have 2 8s in your hand, you can pick up not just the 8, you can pick up the whole pack, but only if you've already melded. So it creates another layer of complexity because you may want that 8, but you can't necessarily take it if you don't have a meld already, or if your partner has already melded. Okay. So we're not going to really talk about the 7s and the aces. Those are very more complex. There are, just so you know, there are special kinds of canastas. You could do a canasta of wild cards, and that's fun to do, and you get a lot of points with it. When you've already gotten your 2 canastas, your goal is to get rid of your cards by continuing to meld and then having one last card to discard, and then you can go out and you get 200 extra points. So, and you're always going to ask your partner, can I go out? And there's certain criteria. We're not going to talk too much about that. And scoring, definitely not. So I think that was all that for an overview of, let me stop the share for a second. That was a good overview of Canasta. It's very fun, and it does have a lot of rules, but it becomes second nature when you play. And when you learn the rules by playing, and that's why this is just introduction. You really only can learn how to play the game when you start playing cards. So there were 12 chats in here.
Do you want to read the chats with the questions?
Yes.
I'm not seeing 12 chats in there. I'm sorry.
I saw a bunch of
All right.
questions.
So
Actually,
I think I went, so Sharon Evans, we took many class, now you're starting over, okay. Mary Siegel, we talked about that. How do you play
Yeah.
online? So there's, what I've been using now is this app called Canasta Junction, and it's $9.99, and it is really fun. I actually talked to the owner of the app. She said on March 7th, they had 15,000 people that had the app. As of 2 days ago, there were 32,000. So in 5 weeks, they got as many people playing as in 5 years. That's when they started it. But it's really fun because you can actually, so for you guys, you might want to consider it. You can play against the computer if you have any interest in that. Let's see.
Alice, can you give me that website again? So if anybody asks, I can give it to them.
It's an app, Canasta Junction.
And how are they spelling junction? Because I know everybody spells everything differently now.
Junction.
CTIO. Okay. Like the real spelling of junction. Okay.
Exactly. It looks, oops, it's got CJ in the middle. I don't know. I have it here.
Canasta.cj.
CJ is the little icon.
Canasta Junction. Okay. Well, thank you.
That was how do you play online. What are the 3s? We talked about that. What would be your discard? Okay, so
if somebody wants to respond, you can unmute yourself and then mute yourself after you talk.
okay, so tell
Alice
me
is reading the questions.
what would be your discard card?
You
Yeah.
had
Your
the
very
three,
last card in your hand is your disc. Is that what you mean?
well, when you showed the 3 melds and then the 3 3s at the top,
Uh-huh.
have you already discarded a card when you're
Yeah,
playing?
so mostly when you start, everybody has 13 cards and you take turns, and it's very unusual to have that initial meld right away. So you're picking and discarding. You might get a couple of 3s along the way, you put those down, you continue, and then you're forming your hand. So yes, you've already had some discards. And generally, when you meld, the traditional thing to do is throw a 7 into the pack which has no meaning. You put your discard and then you take your 4 free cards.
So whatever you put out, you take cards back. So you'll always have 13 cards in your hand?
No, that's just before you meld. So when you meld, you're putting down 8, 9 cards. So you're not going to have the same number. It's
Okay.
only when before you're melding.
Okay.
When you have a meld. So this is a good question. Latika, when you have a meld, do you expose it? And that's a really good question. I don't know where here she is. You don't want to show until you're ready to go down with your initial meld. That's a good question. So if you have, 3/8, you hold it in your hand. You don't put it down until you have your whole initial meld.
Oh, I see. So you don't show that you
Yeah.
have. So
Yeah.
your partner doesn't know then.
Exactly. So sometimes there's people who meld in error. Like you might think you have 125 points, which happens all the time, and you go down and you only had 120. Everybody's going to see what you could have melded. So because of that, when you pick up your cards, because you didn't meld correctly, it adds, you have a penalty. You need 135 now. So you're given the benefit of showing what you melded. Now your partner's not going to throw out those cards. So you have to have a penalty. So that was a good question. In 1950s, when I learned to play, I remembered red 3s being special. So that's the classic canasta. It's different, Robbie. This is modern American. In classic canasta, I think you only get 11 cards. There's 13 here, and 3s are not, red 3s aren't special. All the 3s are the same. On what website do you play, and do they play two-handed? So yes, this canasta junction, you can play two-handed. But in general, I shouldn't say real life, but in real life, when you play with people, you don't play 2 people, it's 4. But you can have like a group of 5 or 6 people in your canasta group, because a lot of people don't play, or they're sick, or they're going away. So it's nice to have extra people. And when you have 5 at one time, you rotate. So 4 people are playing, one's going to the bathroom, doing their laundry, coming back, and then you rotate in. So it gets to be fun. 2 cards in your hand is no good to pick up the pack.
I think that in explaining that you can't put the cards down, that kind of answered the question, but you can't put anything down until you have 125 points worth of meld in your hand.
Right.
Okay, so
once you do
the
that,
picking up of the pack happens then?
well, there's another way. If you have 125 points in your hand, and you can pick up the pack at the same time, you can do that. That's a really good move, because you're accomplishing 2 wonderful things at the same time. You're melding and you're getting all those wonderful cards.
But you don't have to have melded to pick up the pack?
Well, that's the other case. You can, because you can't use that card in the pack for your initial meld. You have to have a standalone initial meld and have 2 cards that
okay.
match.
And the 7s. Earlier I put this up, but does this not count because it's got a 3 in it?
Okay, so a 3 isn't a wild.
Oh, sorry, I didn't do that. I think I did that.
Okay, so
Maybe I did do that.
good question. 7s are really special, and the hardest thing to understand, you can never have a wild with a 7.
Okay.
Ever.
Oh, good. Good.
Aces,
So rather than doing that, if I had these 2 queens, I would put my 2 with those.
Perfect.
But I'm not laying it down when I get it. I have to keep it in my hand.
Get it off.
Okay.
Yeah, you could actually, well, when you pick up the pack is when you get a lot of cards. It's sometimes hard to hold.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Eileen, does Canasta Junction use Canasta League of America rules? Yes, they do. So here, another question was, can you play two-handed Canasta online? Yes, this one does. And there's other apps too. I just don't have any experience with the other ones. When someone has made a dirty canasta with 6 jacks and you want to go out and have 2 jacks and a joker, can you meld that? Who's that's Eleanor? Wait, where are you? Eleanor Allen? Can I unmute her? There's Eleanor. Is she still here?
I don't see her.
I'm looking for her too. Hmm.
Oh, wait, I can unmute her. Okay.
There we go. I see her.
Okay, all
What-
right.
her picture
Oh,
is-
wait, we both just muted her. Wait a minute. Okay, go
So
ahead,
she's
Ellen.
just on audio.
Yeah,
Okay. So when someone has made a dirty canasta with 6 jacks and you want to go out and have 2 jacks and a joker, can you meld that? Sure, you can add 6. Well, that would be too many. You need 7 is what you need. So all you need to do is put down 1 joker with those 6 jacks. Does that answer your question? You can't have more than 7 in a canasta, only 7. Okay. So that is all. I think she's just on audio. I don't. So those are all the chats there.
okay, so is there anything else anybody wants to ask? You can unmute yourself and ask away. Otherwise, we'll get to the conclusion.
Okay, I have an odd question. Maybe I missed it in the first few minutes. You're holding all these 14, 13 cards in your hand?
Yeah.
There's no rack or anything?
Well, but you know what? People do play with racks. I have a friend that plays with a rack, and I actually think it's great. I think people feel weird doing it, but I wouldn't feel weird. I think it's a great thing. But you can use a rack.
But, and also, I think that last question, was she asking if the 6 jacks are down already, can you put 2 more jacks and a joker as a second?
No. Okay. Okay. So you can't
Ah,
answer that question. You, once a canasta is made, which is only 7, so let's say she finished that canasta and rolled it up and had 7 jacks. So that's
it's rolled.
dead.
Okay.
Nobody else could make a meld of jacks anymore. It's
But-
considered dead.
If she had laid down 5 jacks and they were laying down there as a meld, not a canasta,
So you
then
can
could
add
she lay down 2 more jacks and a joker?
just 2 more jacks, not 3 cards. You can
But that
only,
wouldn't make sense because you'd want to get the canasta, right?
you can't do more than 7.
Hmm.
So you can only do 7. If you have, 3, 8, if you have more, let's say there was 5 or 4 jacks and a wild, and you had 2 jacks and a wild, you only put the 2 jacks down. Save your
And
wild.
finish your canasta, and then you canasta. Okay, yeah, got
And,
it.
and once that's done, it's rolled up, it's put with your 3s, and now there's no way any other team can use jacks in a meld. It's dead.
Jerry, could I ask a question?
Sure, Jillian?
Yeah, can you go back to that slide? It went by too fast where you had the 125 points and the 180. I'm kind of not fitting that into the whole
Okay.
picture.
All right, let me go back there.
When does the relevance of those 3?
So here's 180. Is this one you meant?
You know what? The screen's not showing.
Oh, wait,
Mhm.
let me
Share
share it.
screen.
Let me share it. Hold on.
Yeah, it had the 1 to 2,999, 125. And what's the significance of those 3 levels?
Got it. Your screen is now showing.
Okay, so
It's further on.
now do you see?
Yeah, but you had a slide with 3 levels, 1 to 2,999.
Oh, okay. This one?
That one, yeah. Where do those 3 levels come in?
Okay, so when you play your first round and you're playing and maybe both teams have melded and everybody's making their canastas, you get to the end of the round, which happens when either the stockpile is gone or a team has 2 canasta and goes out. That round is over. So what you do is you subtract the cards that are still left in your hand, and then you count your points. So you could have, often when you first start, you could have like 1,500 points, let's say. And maybe the other team has 1,800 points. I lost it again. Here.
There.
So, so you're going to need to do 125 again because you don't have 3,000. But the next round, let's say you get enough points to bring you over to the 3,000 mark. Then you need 155 points. But you are going along with your partner. The other team might still need 125. You and your partner might need 155. Or it might mean that at some point you continue and you're up to 5,000 points. You're going to need 180 and maybe the other team needs 155. So you start out at the same. You all start out needing 125 points, but you progress at different rates.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, any other questions? Nothing on the chat? Okay. So as I said in the beginning, for those of you who came on late, we're working on trying to find a way for Alice to teach this online, maybe through Zoom or online. We haven't quite figured it out because it's very complicated. But in the event that we are, well, let me know if you're interested and what level you are, if you're a beginner or advanced beginner. And then also, if not, we will plan on when we reconvene and open the J, having these classes available. So one way or the other, we're gonna get you into these Canasta classes and get that to be a really fun game that we play together. And let's see. And the other thing I want to tell you is it's so nice to be on this that I thought I'd leave the call open for a little while afterwards, and you can all unmute yourself in case you want to chat with some of the people on the call, say hello. And so we'll leave that open for about 5 minutes. And I also have a commercial, as I always do, tomorrow morning, 9:30. I hope you're all getting my emails. I try to let you know what's happening with Primetime Adults for the next week. So tomorrow morning, Dr. Ellen Olshansky leads a women's connection group, and the topic is tomorrow, creating balance in your life. And this is a whole different balance than a few months ago. And because we're all confined in some way and have to find a way to have some balance to keep our mental health and our physical health. So if you have any questions of me, I'm glad to answer them at this time. Anybody have any questions about the programs? Just wave. I'll just kind of scroll through and see if anybody, oh, I've answered all your questions. No questions. Well, you can always send me an email and ask away or whatever you want to say. And so I want to thank Alice for doing this for us. This was wonderful. And Cheryl for helping with these Zoom classes. We've come to a whole new level in Zoom, and we keep on going. We're going to get really good at this.
Yeah.
So better and better all the time. So anyway, if you do want to know anything about upcoming programs, I have a whole set of programs for the month of May that could keep you very busy and happy and social. And this is the way things are going right now. So anyway, thank you all for joining. And if you want to stay on and chat, just unmute yourself. Actually, I can unmute everybody. I hope it doesn't get too crazy.
You have the power, Jerry.
Yes, I can unmute all, but you can also unmute.
You can unmute all.
So all participants are unmuted. That's funny.
Oh, it's good, thank
I
you.
think Dan doesn't know she's unmuted.
That's great to know. I'm calling in to know if you have more questions about listing your property for traveling nurses that we can help.
No, I was looking at the site because it sounded like it was.
So who is speaking? We can mute them.
Traveling guests from
We've
Airbnb.
unmuted somebody
Do we
who's
know who's
talking.
speaking?
As soon as I got to what
They
your
probably
credit card
don't, they
number
probably
is,
really
that
don't want us
answers
to hear
all
all
the
their
questions.
business.
I know that. I
I-
agree with you, poor
If you're
Jan.
Got me in trouble
Speaking-
every time I've given someone my credit card number.
Okay,
So
who is this?
it's not worth
Let's
paying
find her.
for
Who
another
is this? Who
service
is
when
this?
Airbnb is free.
Jan.
It's
Okay,
Jan.
I see Jan.
For calling and following up.
Mute Jan.
Okay, so how can we
Thank you
mute?
for receiving my call.
Jerry, can you
Who
mute
is
Jan?
this?
Thank
Who
you,
are we,
too.
who are we talking
Bye.
about?
Okay.
Jan Elo,
Okay. Oh, there she is. Okay.
mute
I
her.
don't wanna
Doesn't
give
know
you
she's talking.
You're welcome.
Okay.
and
Okay.
local.
I mean, I can control the muting. I just thought maybe we could
I-
just
I
take
have no idea.
turns.
I think what happened was when you unmuted,
the
people
meeting if
who
you
were
want.
muted and doing other things didn't know it, and they were
Oh, okay.
caught off guard there.
Yeah,
They
because
weren't
lots of
paying
times
attention.
this works out where, people just take turns and chat, so.
Alice, you
I-
showed
I'm
up
gonna-
with Steve. Steve
Oh,
Schultz.
I didn't know you were there.
Pickleball. I
I
know I'm
think
late.
Lee and Sharon
3
and
hours
Ricky
in,
just
I'm
came
3
in.
hours early, so I got the time zones.
Oh,
Oh,
well, we just got the word that tennis and pickleball are going to be open again, but they haven't unlocked in our community. They haven't unlocked the tennis courts or the pickleball.
They've opened all the golf courses here in Irvine.
Yes, in Riverside too now. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but with restrictions, you got to wear a mask and you got to be in your own part unless you share a house with. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So you're in Hawaii? Oops.
Yes, I am.
Oh, where'd she go? There she is.
how are things there? Well, as far as the coronavirus?
Other than we can go in the water, but we've had no hospitalizations and no deaths, fortunately. But, it's a really small amount of people. We have less than 200,000 people on the island.
Hmm.
Interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's amazing. But we've been able to play pickleball in sort of a private group at a condo complex.
Uh-huh.
There's 7 of us, and we use bleach on the balls, and we have gloves. We don't wear masks, but it's kind of, half the people don't care, and half the people who really care aren't coming. Obviously,
Okay.
it's not that I don't care. I honestly, I'm really nervous about going into Kona because there's a lot of people and people, germs.
And the people could be from far away too.
That's
Well,
right.
most of the visitors have gone home.
That makes sense.
Did you have difficulty coming from California to Hawaii?
It was because it was March 5th.
Oh,
It
Way
was
before.
nothing.
Right.
But I'm having trouble coming home.
yeah, yeah.
I
No
left for
direct
New
flight.
York on March 8th and you left on March 5th.
Yeah.
It was getting crazy on the 13th when I came back.
And Jerry, you guys had that big event at the JCC on the 7th.
What was it? On the
The
7th?
poker.
The poker.
Oh, Sari, yeah. Sari had the poker thing. I was
Yeah.
still in Israel, but
Oh,
Sari
that's
had the
right.
poker thing,
Oh,
and that
you
was
guys made it back. You were under lockdown there, yeah?
we just made it. Just
Wow.
made it.
Wow.
Yeah, otherwise I would be in lockdown there for I don't know how long. So, yeah.
Oh, Cheryl.
So Jerry, do you think that pickleball will open up? The gym will open up anytime soon at the J?
You know what? They're just going by what is scientifically prescribed by I guess by the governor, and he's taking the information from the medical community. And so they want to, but they're waiting.
I think it's going to be longer.
cautious.
The outdoor courts, I could see them opening up before they open up anything inside.
Yeah. I don't have any idea, and they don't. They're really waiting for good scientific information and what is recommended, and that's what they're going to follow. I mean, we're hoping in the summer, but I don't know.
And Jerry, are you guys working inside the building or everyone from home?
I am in my dining room next to my big tree, my Hawaiian style tree. No, we're all working from home, and this Zoom thing has saved us because
This is my third Zoom meeting today.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my third Zoom meeting today. Exactly. And we're just doing all our programmings, and it's kind of nice because sometimes people can't make it to the building, but they can make it to a Zoom, especially people who have difficulty getting around. And the other thing that we discovered was there's a lot of speakers all over the country. Like Alice is in Palm Springs now, and there's speakers all over the country who are saying, yeah, we'll do a program on Zoom. And so we're getting people that we normally would have a hard time flying out here and getting them to do something.
So Jerry, is there a maximum on this Zoom? Because we just did a meeting this morning and over 250 people joined it, and it dumped us because the max is 250.
Unless you have, I'm sure they have the Zoom premium.
We have the upgraded Zoom.
It was actually Teams. I was on Teams this morning.
Oh.
It was a team meeting. And at 2:50, it dumped the whole meeting.
Oh, God.
What kind of team meeting? What kind of team meeting was it?
It was a Canine Companions puppy class.
Probably didn't have the Zoom Premium or whatever, the Zoom Pro. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I think they only allow up to 100 with the regular Zoom, so they must have had an upgraded one, but
it was Skype, Teams, Microsoft.
Teams, I thought was a good one, so I don't know.
It is, but I guess 250 is their max.
Yeah.
Jerry.
Yeah.
On the mahjong thing, that you put something about the Michelle Frizzell.
Right.
She's somebody from our area, or is she from?
No, that's why we canceled. She's from Atlanta. Well, that's not the only reason we canceled. But when this first came about, she said people aren't going to come, and she has to fly in from Atlanta. Okay. So we just decided with her we were going to postpone till sometime in the fall when things open up, and we're just not sure. But she said she will absolutely come back, and we're rescheduling. There's two things we're rescheduling, that and the Jamie Bernstein, the daughter of Leonard Bernstein, said she'll come out again. And we actually set a date with her, and I hope it can happen. We just have to see, her date is October 25th. Yeah.
A gal that I play mahjong with here, she's one of her commentator people on Mahjong Time. Where they do the YouTube. So she just told me that yesterday. So now I'm like, oh my God, this is a woman who is coming to our JCC. And I was confused as to how that was working, but thank you.
Yeah, she has all these YouTubes online. She actually sent us, if you go on our site to the virtual JCC, she sent a 45-minute talk on the new card. And
yeah, I saw it.
And then she also did another talk on various types of mahjong, and that's all on our virtual website.
Okay.
Listing with all our programs. She's a really nice lady and really knowledgeable. So yeah, we hope that we'll do this in the fall. We hope to see everybody back in the fall.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad to see all of you are taking care of yourselves and in
So
good
Jerry,
health.
Vicki Gladstone just said, will you email the printable slides? If I send it to you, will you send it out, the printable slides?
Yeah, I can send it out. We made a list of, or tried to make a list of everybody who came to the Zoom call.
Do you need us to put our email?
If you registered before, we have your email. But once this is over, everything gets deleted. So if somebody registered like 5 minutes before, then I wouldn't have their email. So I don't know.
So I'll send it to you, Jerry, and then.
Sure. That's very nice of you to share that.
Sure.
Were you going to say something, Lana?
Yeah, through the whole thing, I only got a little tiny box. I couldn't see what was going on, but I did have one question to ask. Back in 48 and 49, when we played, there was, you had your partner, and your partner and you melded in one pile, not one by her and one by me.
Oh, that's what it
Can you
is.
still do that?
Same. So if you and I were partners and you melded, then someone else had a turn, that was my turn, I would contribute to your meld.
Yours. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to starting again with some of these new rules.
Yeah.
And Lana?
Okay, I can't get off of the darn thing, so I just have to wait for you guys to
Well,
finish.
actually, there's a little
No, there isn't.
writing
Not
on
in
the
the
bottom.
box I'm in, Jerry.
What?
I said I am in a little tiny box that's about 4 inches by 2 inches.
Check the top
And
right-hand corner of
I
the screen.
can't leave the meeting.
Oh,
So,
I think you
that's why
can
I'm
go on the
still here,
you can go on one of the margins and expand the box. I think. Hopefully.
No, I
No?
can move
Is there
it
a
around.
green button? Is there a green button on
No,
the top
dear,
left?
there's nothing at the bottom. I
Well,
don't know what
Guess
I did.
what,
I went-
Lana?
Yes.
We are going to have a Zoom educational meeting, and the first.
Oh, I Zoom with my family all the time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Somehow I
Oh,
got
okay.
in that, and when I did that, I couldn't get back to
Oh,
to the original screen.
Okay, well, I guess it's time to end.
Yeah,
the meeting.
it's okay.
Thank
When
you.
guys
Nice
are
seeing
ready to-
everybody.
Take care. See you next time.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot, everybody. I appreciate
Well,
everything.
Roseanne, thank you. Thank you, Alice. Bye, Jerry.
Bye.
I don't know.